Afternoon, good morning, and good night. Welcome to the Empower Hour. My name is Isabel Starck, and I am your host. Today, we bring to you episode number 25, and I'm really super excited about this episode because I'm bringing on a dear friend of mine and colleague, and someone who's actually helped me a lot in my business. So what I would like to do is introduce you to Aleksandra Lacka. I'll call her Alex throughout this episode because we're on that level, you know. And Alex has actually, wait, are we getting feedback?
Don't start.
So you get feedback here?
Today we bring to you episode number 25. And I'm really excited about this episode because I'm bringing on a dear friend of mine and colleague. And
mine, it's yours, quickly check.
So what I would like to do is introduce you to Alex. I'll call her Alex throughout this episode because we're on that level, you know.
Little issue we're having. Sometimes this happens. Okay, are we back? We're back normal? I think we're back. Okay, great. Thank you guys there. Sorry about the technical difficulty. Got a little bit of feedback. We had to take care of that. So it's all done now. So again, I'm bringing
Isabel, I still hear feedback.
You do?
There's feedback.
Okay, so what you might want to check is see if you have any other windows open on your computer.
Yes.
Okay, got it? Okay, super. All right, well, welcome again to this part 2. Anyhow, again, this is Isabel Starck, and I'm here bringing you the Empower Hour, and today my guest is a very special guest. Her name is Aleksandra Lacka, and she is a strategic consultant for online entrepreneurs. So she founded Insights Atelier, and she has a number of different programs that I'm sure she's going to tell you a little bit about throughout this call. But what I'd like to do is go ahead and bring her on, welcome her into the show, and let her tell you in her words a little bit about what she does, where she's been, and her long history of experience in this field. So there you go. Are we still getting some issues there, Alex?
Hi, Isabel. Listen, I can because I hear what. Yeah, should I end the call and come back because I'm hearing what you said like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, go ahead and end the call and then come right back. And I will keep our viewers entertained. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your patience with this. It does tend to happen with Google Hangouts. So, you just kind of have to roll with the punches, have strategies in place. So this is our third strategy. Our strategy is actually she pops out and she'll come right back in. But I really want to say, thank you so much for coming in. I can't believe this is episode number 25 already. Yeah, it's pretty freaking amazing. I started this back in, I think it was April or May was our first episode. And it's kind of evolved. It is an hour-long episode. It takes place every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So you can always go and watch it on my website, or you can even watch it directly on YouTube because it's live streaming, and also on Google+. So Alex, you're back. How are things? Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Perfect. Sorry for that technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
You are completely clear and you have the screen. So please tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do, and yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Isabel, for having me on your show. I am super excited for being here. Hi, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. It's we all sort of in our holiday mood. Yes, I'm very grateful to be here today. And what I do, just a quick snapshot of what I do. I'm a strategy consultant for businesses, and especially for entrepreneurs who are starting their own personal brands. I always like to say who are building their iconic personal brands. I really help them with understanding their audiences and being seen for who they are, true brilliance, and sort of connecting that to the bigger market. I've done that previously on a corporate level, working with big brands, with some of the big iconic brands like Cartier and Missoni and Gucci and L'Oreal, you name it. And then I decided to
into the private sector. I said, now you're actually bringing it into the private sector. And when you said iconic, I mean, that's one of the words that I think is just pretty freaking amazing. I think when anybody can relate to themselves, you know, in the same sentence as being iconic, I think that's, in the end of the day, that's what we're all striving to do. You know, we want to leave a legacy on this earth. So knowing that you've actually worked with some of the top brands, Cartier, L'Oreal, what were some of the other brands that you've worked with?
British Airways, BBC America. I've worked with a lot of different brands in many categories, but basically, you know, I love working with a wide spectrum of brands, but what I've developed was that expertise, especially in luxury markets, high-end brands, much smaller brands. So you might know Cartier because it's one of the bigger luxury brands, but Van Cleef & Arpels, Jaeger-LeCoultre, all those different brands from a company called Richmond, smaller brands that are more niche luxuries, and sort of tapping into those very niche audiences, top 1%, right, of consumers in the world. So that's sort of where my passion came for helping entrepreneurs, because I see big entrepreneurs to develop brands that provide that high-end, high-quality experience and that have that intangible value that they represent, because that's what really high-end consumers are really craving. That it's not just about the bright, shiny object anymore. Brand now has to be more than that. It has to provide that an emotional connection, the intangible feeling. It has to stand for certain values it represents. And that's why I feel entrepreneurs are best positioned in the world to be able to achieve that. That's why we see a lot of entrepreneurial small niche brands sort of getting to the top and competing with all those big brands.
Yeah, and obviously it's, I mean, in your words, I guess, how important is it to be in line, whether it's morals, ethics, but to be completely in line with your brand, your branding, your image, everything that's out there, as opposed to, because you work with such big brands, you know, it's like, it's not like one person's Cartier, it's like the whole name, right? So how is it that you're able to see that?
Absolutely. That's the key importance, actually. It's really having that focus and being very and having to your audiences, sort of tapping into the audience and really being consistent with your messaging, because especially as entrepreneurs, including myself, we tend to have a lot of ideas and things that we want to do with our brands, but really staying on track and staying on that direction that is going to take you to that, I would say, having that bigger vision, the grand vision, and always thinking of that in everything you do, because that's what's going to take you to that next level. And what I tell my clients is every brand is different, every entrepreneur is different, especially people who are creating their own personal brands, because there is they have different skills, different, what I call personal brilliance, different things that make them stand out in the market, different values, different audiences, different purpose for the brands, right? So oftentimes I'll tell my clients that because everyone is different, every brand is different, it requires that customized, custom design approach to achieve that success and to achieve that grand vision. I know that in the entrepreneurial world, we are seeing a lot of very lucrative formulas for success and blueprints for success that certainly do work for some people. However, they're not going to work for everyone because everyone's business is different.
Yeah, well, so it can't be a cookie cutter approach. I mean, there are certain, business is a formula, and yes, you got to make sales, you got to get money in, and that's just how it works. But it's this whole blueprint, and I know exactly where you're going with that, because we see it all over our newsfeed. You know, this is the outline, this is the recipe to be able to make it. And what you're actually doing is you're doing more of a one-on-one structure and a breakdown that really gives your clients basically the next steps that are going to help them in their specific niche. I mean, I can speak here from experience because, you know, we did do some consulting together, and I was just really blown away by how niche you got it, and then how specific you were with the next steps. And I think you offered me like 7 or 10 next steps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to be niche and to be specific. And I like to bring up that example Missoni as a brand, right? Missoni is the famous zigzag design, and now everyone is of course well known around the world. Everyone wants to purchase Missoni pieces, but when they first started, it was just a knitwear sweaters store that sold sweaters that had zigzag design on it. Like, you know, how niche is that? And what they were able to do, which was the key in the brand of Missoni, they weren't trying to go and sell their zigzag sweater to everyone out there in the world. They wanted to be seen by the right audiences. So that was the key to their success. They were noticed by the right audiences, and that's what allowed their brand to sort of grow in the future and to sort of grow to what it is today. And that's exactly how personal brands are.
From what I remember with Missoni, you know, they're quite an old company. I mean, it's a family-run business in Italy, but it's, yeah, I really like the way they actually stayed true to what they do. They did make it available a little bit to the masses, you know, with their M by Missoni. But yeah, sticking true to your brand and putting it in front of the right.
Yeah. And speaking of staying true to their brand, I actually had an occasion 10 years ago to go to Missoni's house, to their maison in outside of Milan, and to meet with the family. And it's interesting. Now brand has sort of grown, but there was a time years ago when Missoni was actually got an offer to be bought out by Levi's. So, and they refused that because it was not in line with the brand and with their values that the brand was representing at the time, which allowed them to only get to the higher level to be more iconic. And that's, you know, as entrepreneurs, we often have to be able to say no thank you to some of the opportunities and be in our power and to believe in that true purpose and that true sort of focus for our brand and staying true to yourself. That's how truly iconic brands are built.
It is. And actually, you just had a post in my group, Fiercely Feminine guys, if you guys are interested, about, you know, saying no thank you and how important it is to be able to say no, especially, I mean, yeah, especially if it's something that's not in alignment with what your true brand, your iconic brand that you're building is standing for. So the no thank you, I mean, no is a powerful word. And just like another girl mentioned in the group, yes, you know, those are the two most powerful words, yes and no.
That's very true. And every time you say no something, you're saying yes to something else. And it's also, when you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. It's a challenging, but it's always good to practice that. When you say yes to something, what are you saying no to?
Very good point. Very good point. And sometimes it's, you know, saying no to family. I mean, it may not be an actual tangible thing, but yeah, you're completely right with that. Oh, goodness. Well, one of the things, I mean, thank you very much for that introduction. I think it was very thorough, and I think people have a really good understanding as to what it is that you do, and at least, you know, the background that you've also had. When you actually started talking about Missoni, I know I had mentioned to you that we work with Missoni in the eyewear industry, and when you said that you were there 10 years ago, I wonder if you had any any part in the decision being made about them actually getting into the eyewear market, because that's around the time that we signed them as an eyewear distributor. So that was actually kind of an overlap, pretty interesting.
Yeah. No, at that time I did not have a part in that. I was more of an observer. So I was looking at the entire business of Missoni strategically, sort of learning about the business, along with some of the work I was doing in Italy at the time with other companies, also like Gucci, silk companies, Alfa Romeo. I know you love cars, so you would appreciate that. Ducati as well, the race motorcycles. I was looking holistically. That was actually one of when I was at Cornell. I was doing work sort of looking at the future of those niche Italian industries and where that was going, and how to strategically position them in this increasingly more competitive. Cool.
You broke up there a little bit. How to niche them into the competitive market?
How to competitively position them in the increasingly competitive global market, because they had a lot of competition coming from China and coming from other global markets, and that's also part of the decisions why go produce those mass sort of lines like eyewear and eyeglasses, and sort of outsourcing some of that, which I can't say if it was the right or wrong decision, but it's certainly, the brand has grown as many of those, originally very niche brands have grown, expanded, added new lines.
Yeah. Now, I know this is going to get a little off topic about the whole entrepreneurial side, but, in your opinion, as you're positioning a brand, how important is it to, well, I guess I already have the answer, but the importance of being able to stay true to your brand. Like, for example, you'll use Missoni and the Ducatis and, these brands that you've worked with, being able to have control, because once you start licensing things out, and I guess we can put this spin on it with the entrepreneurial side too, once you start maybe becoming an affiliate for people and putting your name behind certain products, like what kind of impact can that actually have? And again, speaking from the Missoni side, I know that there were certain licenses that were given out, and some of their products were no longer made in Italy, how they had, previously been contracted to do, but actually farmed out overseas.
Yeah, so I think there are two things. Today's consumers are very savvy, and we have all the information at our fingertips, so we are able to go and research where that piece was made. So they will see through it. They'll know that this is not, this is overpriced for, the quality. And that's why a lot of, I speak oftentimes with a journalist from CNBC. He specializes in luxury. Robert Frank, he wrote a few books, including Richie's Son. I've had him on my panel a few times, and he said one of the biggest issues for luxury, there's actually a big crisis in the luxury market right now, because consumers are expecting quality. At least in the Western markets, they're expecting high-level quality because they're used to that, to getting that from those high-end brands, and they're seeing that the quality is changing. So instead of going and purchasing it from that brand, why not, for that same amount of money, purchase something that aligns with certain values? That's maybe a quality product made, crafts product made by local artisans and, let's say, Haiti, right? So Donna Karan has a big project going on there. So that's why I think I see a lot of promise and a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurs, with whether it's services that they're providing, coaching, other services that are really high-end, high-touch services and truly aligned with their values. So when it comes to partnerships, I would say, I wouldn't say don't do partnerships. Partnerships are very important. They're actually oftentimes they're key to success. Mm-hmm. But really look into, do a lot of research as to who you are partnering with. Does your partner really represent and stand for the same values? And it's even with visibility. Places you're visible. just like, advertising in a magazine, because I used to work in advertising industry. Who do you want what context do you want your ads to be displayed in? Where do you want to be, whether you're a performer or people you're associated with? It's all about the context. It needs to be sort of on brand within that brand context, within that value that your brand represents. And I see a lot of times.
Is there an easy question that you can remind people of to kind of ask themselves? I mean, I'm sure after a while it does become more second nature, where you just immediately see something and you know right away, oh, that's off brand for me. And I think you hear that term a lot. Oh, it's like, okay, that's on brand, I'm going to do that, or that's off brand. How, like, to get there, what kind of tips can you offer our viewers to be able to finally reach that kind of pinnacle?
Yeah. So first, look at, you have defined values. So look at what your values are and see, does that other partner company or someone who wants me to engage in a visibility project, let's say, do they have the same values? Do they support those same values? Are their audiences the same audiences? So would my audience go and want to, like, for example, for me, would my audience go and watch Isabel Starck and be interested in Isabel's? Of course. That's why it's a no-brainer. I came on your show, right? And I appreciate those, and those are amazing opportunities. So we need to really be able to recognize that and to really even learn about our audience and to see what are the interests they have, art and other things that might not be necessarily related to what I do, but are relevant to my audience, because audience is not just one-dimensional, right? They have many different dimensions, which who else, Isabel knows better than anyone else about that. And, are there any other areas in their lives where I can also have my presence as a brand to further connect that, in a meaningful way with them, sort of creating that emotional connection.
So values and audience, those are two things that you recommend to look at with partnerships. And yeah.
Absolutely. And oftentimes I see that entrepreneurs, especially at the beginning when they're starting out, they want to get a lot of visibility, but it's, sometimes they would kind of visibility. So then it's the efforts that are just sort of like going to waste, or even sort of hindering their brand sometimes. I'll give you an example. There's an entrepreneur that I know, amazing performer, really amazing classical music, and probably she was not aware of the full lineup of different artists performing at the specific event she got invited to. But other sort of performances were sort of comedy shows, not in the best taste, like something that would be sort of for the opposite audience. Like it was not geared towards that audience. So then people come out feeling disappointed that they have to, they see this wonderful performance, but then they have to stay through something that they're not even enjoying. So there is a sort of disconnect there.
Oh, I totally see that. Now, what happens, or how can you kind of backtrack if you have maybe partnered with somebody and then recognize down the road, like with this client that you're talking about, she obviously signed up, she was there, and she still had to perform. Like, what can you do to not damage your relationship with your audience even more? Because it does cause a little slight damage. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely. Well, we all learn from our mistakes, and there's nothing wrong with making mistakes, so failing forward. So really learning from that, and later on being more selective as to different invitations that they're accepting, or being able to even say no in certain circumstances where they think they're supposed to, it's nice to say yes to those things, but really that sort of gives them very strong I think, very strong reason to say no, because now it's about your business and your audience. So yes, you want to be nice to someone and maybe do them a favor and perform at their event, but if it's not lined up with your audience, it's ultimately harming your business. So that's learning from there, and continuing to speak to your audience, or even acknowledging to your audience actually that this was something she did not plan for or was not aware, and sort of apologizing to them, but also inviting them to oftentimes audiences are forgiving when they see that someone is transparent and someone is really genuine. They'll be forgiving, and they'll see sort of how that person evolves on their journey, how they are able to adjust and to create better experiences going forward.
I really like that. That's actually total gem, that answer, because I know that you and I have actually been in certain circumstances where this has kind of come up. And I think the fact of always, what I got from that is just kind of putting yourself in the audience's shoes and just really saying to yourself, what is it that I would want to hear from this person that I'm following, or I trust, or I believe in? And if she did kind of a 180 and just acknowledging them and number one, thanking them for being there, but then also, doing a small apology. I think that speaks volumes.
Absolutely, and that creates even a greater emotional connection, because it's like in any relationship, right? There is always issues, but when people are able to come together and resolve those issues, that makes the relationship even stronger. So it's the same about relationship with your audiences, and we've seen various brands who have done that too. They came forward, they apologized, some of the big brands, and as a result, they actually got a lot of buzz on social media from being able to sort of step forward and sort of acknowledge their mistakes.
Wonderful. Good, very good points. Very good points. So, I had actually touched on the description of this whole show, at the fact that you have had 9-figure launches. Forget about the 6, forget about the 7, forget about the 8. You actually had 9-figure launches that you have had part in, and obviously those are with some of your iconic brands, I'm certain. But in the overall scheme of things, because now, not that you're no longer, you are focusing more on like online entrepreneurs and one-on-one people. What is it that you define as success now at this level in your life, this level in the game? How is it that you're describing your multidimensional success?
Absolutely. Success is, for me, it's about following your own path and really being able to work in your zone of genius. For me, that's what it is. So the 9-figure launch,
you froze there. Froze a little bit when you said the 9-figure launch.
Yeah, with 9-figure launch, for me, it wasn't even about the figures. It was about the challenge at hand. It was about me being able to be truly creative and innovative, strategic as well. So I was really excited to do it because it was my zone of genius. And that's something I apply throughout my life and throughout my business as it's evolving. So whether it was working at a company and being able to do what I love, or working for my own business, still being able to do what I love and to sort of work in that zone of genius and my brilliance with my amazing clients who help me think bigger and work on even higher level, to me, that's how I define success. And again, it's about following that custom design path versus just following a blueprint or a recipe or a one-size-fits-all formula. So it's all about sort of designing your own life and having sort of that power and control to be able to even things, to different opportunities, but being sort of very focused on your own, on things that are important to you and represent your true genius and allow you to use your brilliance and to maybe make world a better place. Again, another example of how no thanks, when I left my course, that exact time I received a very prestigious international award from International Advertising Association for my contributions to media industry worldwide. So, if I was to stay in the media industry, that was, I would be in this spotlight and the light of glory, but instead of that, I decided to just use it as a stepping stone to doing, what's next for me and what's important for me. Versus, it could have been probably easy to just take a seat, sit back and enjoy sit on the laurels, right? But it was more of a motivation for me as well to take that challenge and to do it on my own. And that's what made it, but being able to sort of almost disattach myself from that other vision of success that maybe was my vision of success a few years ago, but now has sort of evolved into a new vision for success.
And I do have to say that I believe, in multidimensional success, obviously, because that is one of the things that I really speak to a lot of, but the fact that we do evolve, we do grow, and what was our level of success a couple of years ago should constantly be evolving. Once you reach the pinnacle of where you desire to be, there is something more. And maybe it's not even in the realm of business any longer. It may be in the realm of, motherhood or, maybe starting a family, whatever it is. But there's just so many different levels that we are able to kind of compact and build upon. So yeah, I think it's amazing what you were able to accomplish. And I think ending on that note, at least in that industry, is a huge, it's like a jumping board to be able to really launch your business into what it's become now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of that scary place of you can jump, higher, you can jump off the cliff. So it's like, it's a very scary place, but some of the fears we have in our lives.
Speaking of fears, that's actually one of my next questions. I always kind of like to throw in kind of a fun question in there for all my interviewees, and that actually has to do with, what are some of the fears that we've been able to face, and in particular, what is one of the biggest fears that you've ever had, and how is it that you overcame it, or are you planning to overcome it in the future?
That's a good question. I think that and it's a tricky one as well. I think that there are two kinds of fears, right? There is one fear that's sort of obvious and that you're able to name it, and that's sort of easy to pinpoint, and you can sort of work on it. And then there is that subliminal fears that maybe are not something that's visible, but it sort of adds up and becomes, grows to the level when it becomes visible. So the first one of my fears was public speaking. Not only that, but I came to this country when I was 18 from Poland, so English was not my first language. I had a very strong accent. I had fear of public speaking from the beginning, like in Poland as well. So it was, any language. But then with my accent, I didn't feel very confident about that. So I knew I needed to put myself in that situation where I would face my fear. So that's sort of what I like to do with those fears that I can name, right, and identify easily. So I went for an audition for a TV show, to be a TV show host, one of the major TV networks in the US. Major, I think, music production. And as I arrived there with hundreds of other people who came for it, I was the one person who was just completely different. It was just as if you transplanted me to this group of random, like, I didn't look like them, I didn't speak like them, I didn't think like them. It was, you know, as if I went to audition for Naked and Afraid right now, like those people who deal with the wilderness and all that. Yeah, maybe I would look afraid, but there's no way I would ever be able to be in that show. I'm a city girl, so I'm not very into wilderness things. But you know, I got to that show. I go to my audition. I speak in front of all those producers, and at that point, I thought, you know, I'm so different that obviously I'm just like fish out of water here. Like I'm totally different, and this is totally not for me. So I wasn't as stressed out anymore because I knew I wasn't getting the role anyways. And I spoke in front of those producers, which looked a little scary. It was like taking a big exam. They were all lined up there in front of me, cameras and all that. But it was funny. And after I left, they came right after me that same day, and they said, "Listen, we loved you. We loved your accent. We loved everything about you." So, you know, so it's sort of, you know, putting yourself in those situations helps you see it through other people, you know, because sometimes we are so critical of ourselves and we have those irrational fears. But really, when we put ourselves out there, it's there. And of course, well, I didn't accept. That was one of my no thanks. I don't have many regrets in my life, but sometimes I think, oh, my life would be so, maybe my life would be easier if I was a TV show host. But, you know, it's definitely sort of makes you think and makes you sort of understand, and it gives you more confidence and appreciation for what it is you have to offer. And but there is also another type of fear. It's more subliminal. It's fear of being inadequate or not fitting in, or even self-doubts, right? Doubting yourself, not being in your power. And sometimes people that we are around can sort of bring that upon us when we start doubting ourselves. But at the end, it's their own insecurities that are. And I've learned at one point in my life is, you know, I left a very challenging, like I left a job in an environment that was like that. So I felt I sort of didn't believe in myself. I was just very, you know, had a lot of self-doubts. I was rethinking career and profession, and I went to a retreat in India and Rishikesh, and I came back from my retreat. I was starting a new job, sort of starting over, still in the same industry, starting a new job, and I really wanted to do it really well because it was like a test for me. If I can't do this, then I won't be able to do anything else. And one morning on Sunday, I was running to a breakfast meeting with my friend, and the street was empty because it's 9 a.m. in the Alphabet City. It's all dead. So I was just the only person on the street. And suddenly I hear a voice. I hear a woman screaming behind me. And she goes, Miss, stop. You know, and I thought, well, maybe I dropped something, or maybe she's asking for directions. And she said, you know, I was driving by. She was in a car actually driving, and she stopped her car. She got out of the car. She's wearing this Indian sari, and I just came back from India. And she says, Miss, you know, I needed to tell you this, but because people are trying to push you against the walls, don't let them do that. You're a leader, not the follower. Have no fear. She was probably a fortune teller, and I don't believe in fortune tellers, but that really spoke to me because it was very relevant to my situation. Have no fear. That just like stayed, like it resonated with me so much. I remember it for the rest of my life. It was 3 years ago, I think. And
she was your angel messenger at that moment. It's what you needed to hear and what God, the universe, put right in front of you.
Exactly. And it helped me not only in my professional life and career, also my personal life as well. Having those irrational fears that prevent us from playing on our highest playing level field. So it was really funny because when I started that job, I thought, okay, now I'm gonna go big and I'm going to create those big initiatives. So first week on my job, new job, I come up with this huge initiative, and my boss was totally supportive. She says, "Go for it, let's do it." And so I went for it. Right? I invited a lot of media people. I had, editors of magazines, publishers. I had all different people invited, hundreds of people. And a few days before the event, I go to my boss and one of the executives, and I said, okay, now that we have all these hundreds of people invited, we need to provide this, this, and that. So we need this much money so that I can place an order for certain things that we need for the event. And this high-level executive comes to me and he says, you know what, I don't think you understand. This is not something we do here. You can't do that. Like, I'm not supporting this. I'm not paying for this. So of course, it's like, all those high-level people are coming. I have Refinery 29, Power, Vogue, InStyle, many clients and executives in the industry.
To a certain level of,
Yes. So he says, you know what, you can't do that. You just have to make it smaller. You have to change something. And it's just 5 days before the event. And I said to him, you know what? I can do it. Watch me. And I had no idea how to do it. When I left his office, I was like, what did I just say? Like, how am I supposed to do it? I have no funding. I have no support. And sure enough, after I went back to my desk, an idea came from, I think, the universe. When the universe sees that we are sort of ready to take the challenge, and we really, when there was a will, there was a way, right? So the idea came up, and we had, turned out we had a lot of those magazines and publishers bringing, sort of sponsoring things which never happened in the media industry before for this kind of project. And all of them sort of signed on, and it was spectacular. The event was attended by many people. It was all filmed. After that, the executives came to me asking me to create that same production for some of the high-level clients from Paris and global brands that are coming to the US, which I continued doing for the next 3 years or so. And I also always had those magazines aligned, and everyone wanted to be a speaker at my event. So, it sort of shows that when you have that fearless sort of drive and strength, and being able to go fearlessly after something you truly believe in, things come together. And it's almost like taking those risks. And
I was going to say, taking the action is important, because had you kind of wilted and said, okay, you know what, you're right, like, what can we do? There is no idea. That you just believed, you had faith, and you actually took the actions necessary. That's really the formula.
Yeah, because you know what, I thought, what do I have to lose? I don't want the repeat of what happened with the previous people when they made me feel that way, and I just went with it. I just need to stand in my power, and I did it because I thought I have nothing to lose. And that's usually where great things happen, right? When you give it all you have.
Well, I've always said that it's in our greatest weaknesses where our strongest strengths lie. And you got really in touch with your strongest strength. That's just, the persistence part of you, and knowing that you will be able to find a solution. Yeah.
And it was, and this issue comes up once in a while, especially with my own business as I do new things. And there's always that sort of fear of, oh, maybe it's too much for me, too big of a, bite to take. But ultimately, you have to sort of have that sense of judgment and sort of go for it. What do you have to lose? So I have to look at it that way.
That's quite a story. I wish I would have been able to attend that event. My gosh. Anything else comes up like that, you got to make sure to call me. I'm coming to you.
There's going to be plenty. There's going to be plenty. I have a lot in store. So.
Yeah, you do. So, we're getting down here to the last about 12, 15 minutes of the show. And I do want you to be able to tell some of our viewers a little bit more about what you have going on. You, from what I've known of you since you've actually started this business, you know, you're like a globetrotter. You know, you are the one who's out there and, you know, speaking on panels, receiving awards, being asked to speak in other countries. So I would just love to know what it is that you have coming up that might be special for some of our viewers to actually really look into as opportunities to be able to work with you. So yeah, why don't you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, you know, I love working with viewers one-on-one, and this year that's sort of my big project for the year, since this year I've transitioned from my corporate work into my business, and my biggest goal is to sort of develop, to work and develop relationships with a lot of businesses on a one-on-one basis with entrepreneurs. So that's sort of what I'm dedicated to over the next few months. However, there is always, so anyone is, of course, I invite any entrepreneurs to always reach out and contact me, and even, you know, to sort of sign up on my newsletter for my advice and tips that I send out weekly. And then
that if you're a woman-based entrepreneur, there is a personal Facebook group that you have. So it's defining your ideal client.
Yes, it is a group about defining your ideal client, because that's really important. And defining a client, especially for continuing to redefine your audience and sort of setting the bar higher and higher, it also helps your business evolve, and you are able to then take it to the next level. So that's precisely what I help my clients do as well for their businesses. And we have that little community with sort of like-minded entrepreneurs who are also looking to define their audiences and get that strategic direction for their business. So that the newsletter, my news site, is going to be coming out at the beginning of next year, and there'll be few engagements that I have internationally as well. So I'll continue traveling.
Yeah, that's what I'm really interested in to hear of, because I know that, again, I know that you've traveled, you know, down to South America, you've traveled out east, and just in the last year. And would you like to share a little bit about one of your?
Yes, so I have few initiatives that I'm working on. So one of them is something that it's actually, we don't have enough time for that, but it's something I've started when I was still in my corporate job. It was a passion project. Again, I didn't have any resources or anything, just a passion and curiosity to work with entrepreneurs and to understand entrepreneurs. So I did, you know, then things came together, and I did a big research project in Jersey City, right next to New York City, on entrepreneurs and people who are starting businesses there. And as a result, one of the universities created an institute to help businesses, local businesses and entrepreneurs establish their businesses. And then it turned into a global study that I presented in Uruguay in July, and now I'm being invited to present it in Kenya at the conference in next July. And also there is a next part to that study that will unfold within the next weeks and months, and that I'll plan to present at one of the conferences here in Jersey City for in March of this year. Other than that, I also helped start an organization that brings women in leadership positions in the US and in India. It sort of brings them together to share best practices and to empower women around the world. And as a result of that, I got invited to speak at a women's economic forum, which is being held in Delhi in India in May. So I'll be also going to that event. They will have 1,200 women delegates from around the world coming to that big event over 5 days, and I'll be one of the speakers. So I'm really looking forward to it, and looking forward to continuing working with my entrepreneurs. And I have something very special that I planned for my clients. It's a special retreat that I'm planning to do one in the US, and there's going to be also one in India, when we are learning of how to take businesses to the next level and how to make them more global and relevant to some of those bigger global markets.
That's super, super exciting. I cannot wait to hear more about it. I'm sure all the details will be placed on your website or in your group. So
absolutely, and I'm most excited working with my clients individually, because that's where really all the great ideas come up, when we working together and so intimately being involved, in my clients' businesses, and then helping those businesses grow and be successful.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Now, with your globe-trotting lifestyle and all the, building a business simultaneously, would love to know if you have any tips on how you actually get it all done. Whether it's planning trips. I mean, I know that you have a four-legged baby, so obviously.
He's not here.
I know he normally comes in on our calls, but. Yes. Chat with our viewers a little bit about how to achieve, success on multiple dimensions, because you need tools to be able to implement. And there's been people who have shared, calendar tools and whatnot. But is there anything in particular that you'd like to share that you use that allows you to get it all done?
For me, it's a lot is about my team. So especially people who keep me motivated, but also people who keep me staying on track with everything and staying on focus, because there are a lot of different things and initiative I want to do, and again, helping me say no to those things. Work with another strategist who's similar to what I do, but I needed to have an outside person to help me have that outside perspective on my business. So she's my advisor, and we've been working together, which has been tremendously helpful. Also having my mastermind partners, my coach, support from the community and from my clients as well. I think that's really, really important, sort of motivating you. And, I even learn from some of my clients. I work with people who are even executives and high-level CEOs managing hundreds of people. And I always look up to them to see how they get all those things done. So I try to learn as much as possible from them. And because we are engaged together on the projects, working together, I'm sort of getting that learning in my everyday interactions with on those projects with those clients. That's sort of the energy and motivation. And with a lot of travel, it's really important to be organized and to sort of, especially traveling between multiple time zones, it's important to be able to sort of adjust and plan your schedule ahead of time. And what I love now that I have my own business, it gives me a lot of flexibility to take different flights at different times. So I like to do that because I strategically actually plan my flights. I plan what time I'm going to go to sleep on the plane, make sure I don't get the jet lag when I get to my destination, and same coming back. So it's sort of like, you try to preserve that smooth routine and your, hours when you get up and all the different things you do, even with daily meditation or exercise. You want to make sure that you're still able to continue that same routine even during your travels, which I know, Isabel, we've traveled together a little, so I know you are a master at that.
Yes, yes, and it because it does create just really balance in your life. Travel is one of the biggest things, and I tell my clients, my family, anybody I come in contact with is, when you go on vacation is actually an ideal time to be able to try something new. So if it's a practice of yoga or a practice of meditation or running, whatever it is that you'd like to do, even journaling, something so simple.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've actually taken yourself out of your regular environment of home and going into a new place, it's actually an ideal time to be able to start implementing something, so that when you return, you've already started a practice, and you might have a few days, or if your vacations are longer, you have some more time to be able to practice and put it into play and have it become a habit and a part of your life. Because life, we all only have 24 hours in a day. And it's really what we do with those 24 hours that are going to bring us the most happiness. So you have to put effort into planning it out.
Yes, exactly. And I find that, during travels, actually, those are some of the most productive times, believe it or not, just because we're so removed from our daily distractions that we are able to actually focus on doing other more important things. Not more important, but focusing sort of on our tasks at hand when it comes to our business.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, with Wi-Fi on the plane, I'm hearing of people, doing still work and emails and not that you can't do work, but, allow yourself to really take in everything else that's going around, and not just being connected. There are so many benefits to disconnecting.
Absolutely, and I always disconnect when I have that policy for myself and the boundaries. I never get on a Wi-Fi when I'm on a flight, no matter what, because that's the time when I'm able to either watch a movie or write in my journal or think and strategize or listen to my audiobook. Just doing something that normally I wouldn't allow myself that time to do it.
Well, great to hear. Now, one of the questions that I actually love to end on, and that does tie back into our Fiercely Feminine Entrepreneur Group, is what you have planned for the end of the year. Now, we only have a few weeks left. I know we're entering December. I can't believe it, next week. But I would love to hear from you. What is it that Aleksandra Lacka and Insights Atelier had planned as a top to do, a TTD, for 2015?
So for the rest of the year, well, one of my top to-dos this year was definitely starting my business and getting some of my work out there. And then now at the end of the 2015, I'm going to be giving back to the community a little bit. So I'm starting a project that's going to run only in December, and it's going to be a special consulting session where I give 50% of the proceeds to charities. And I have few charities of choice that I'm absolutely passionate about and that I hope my viewers are also passionate about. So that's something that'll be revealed next week, and it's sort of something to get them that boost and jumpstart for 2016. So I'm super excited about that. I have some amazing charities lined up. So it's going to be a great way of sort of giving back to my journey throughout the year, as each of those charities have been meaningful to me throughout my experiences this year.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Wonderful to hear. I mean, just like you said, you're able to help someone in their efforts to start their business, but also just in the spirit of giving back. And with the season, I think it's a perfect time to do this. So that's really awesome. Very thankful.
And my clients also are passionate about that too, and they feel also passionate about being able to, when some of their investment goes into some of those causes. So that's what they also appreciate very much. It's the like season of giving, right? Giving season.
There we go. Yes, with Thanksgiving starting tomorrow, and you opened up with saying Happy Thanksgiving, and I'm the American, and I didn't even mention that, but yes, Happy Thanksgiving to all of our viewers. Beautiful thing to share is actually my father has arrived yesterday and visiting us from California, so we're going to have American Thanksgiving here in Canada. So really happy to have him.
Beautiful.
Which means that I'm not going to be as active in our groups and whatnot for the next few days because he will be here. And obviously we're going to be celebrating, cooking turkey. But for those of you who are not only here on Google Plus or YouTube or watching this live, there's still Facebook, there's still Periscope, and there will be a few probably Periscopes of us making our Thanksgiving dinner. So
Awesome.
With that, I do want to say a huge thank you, Alex, for coming on. I really enjoyed having you on. I know that people are going to be able to watch this over and over again and get a lot of good insights and tips as to how to brand themselves and how to actually put forth their best efforts and make sure that they're in alignment with their iconic brand building. So I'm really happy that you came on. It's always a joy to talk to you. And thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Isabel, for giving me this opportunity to be on your show. And thanks for the viewers for tuning in and for spending an hour with us. I hope that you've got something that is helpful to you from this. And I look forward to connecting and to following, your show, Isabel, and to see how your brand also unfolds and all the amazing things that you're doing in your business. And I wish everyone happy Thanksgiving and the holiday spirit. So enjoy, and you'll see us soon.
Yeah, well, thank you again, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in. We will be coming to you live next week, December 2nd, I believe it is, for episode number 26. So stay tuned, and thank you very much. We will see you next time. Alex, just go ahead and stay right on as I shut this down, and we'll just have a quick debrief. So thank you, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.